Hello and welcome to the first Soul Reaver cut content video, a series of videos that focus on the content that was originally planned to appear in Soul Reaver but was eventually cut out from the game. As some of said content later reappears later in the series, mostly in Legacy of Kain Defiance, these videos are made without any regard to spoilers, so if you do not want to hear those, then you may want to hold back on watching the video until familiarizing yourselves with the games, as they are most definitely worth it. Now that that is over with, welcome! This video is about Turel, the second oldest of Kain's lieutenants and one of the characters that never made it into the final release of the Soul Reaver. Turel himself first appears in the opening cinematic of the game as one of Kain's lieutenants, and he witnesses as Kain tears down Raziel's newly grown wings. Afterwards, we see him alongside Duma, dragging and ultimately casting Raziel down into the abyss, resulting in his rebirth as a wraith. After that point, Turel completely disappears from the radar and is no longer seen until Defiance. Soul Reaver does, however, have other traces of his presence. First, the most obvious one is Turel's grave, Turel's coffin that is present in the tomb of the Seraphim, alongside the graves of other Kain's lieutenants and Malak, showing that, as far as the first two timelines are concerned, Turel was originally, as we all know, a Seraphim warrior priest, like Raziel, like Malak, and others. The second indication is the banner with Turel's clan symbol that is present in the Sanctuary of the Clans. Finally, while the lieutenant himself is absent, his vampire offspring are not. Even though Turel's clan territory was cut from the game alongside its master, the Turelim vampires are present, functioning as a more powerful version of Dumahim, the quote-unquote default vampires scattered throughout the territories that aren't claimed by any of the vampire clans. The very first Turelim encountered is even considered a mini-boss, and grants Raziel one of the powers, the telekinetic force projectile. In Soul Reaver, Turel was planned to be the second last boss, being the last thing standing between Raziel and his third and final encounter with Kain. Much like most of the other cut content, the Turel encounter had some dialogue left over on the PlayStation 1 game disc, which was recovered and subsequently posted at the Lost Worlds.
Beyond the maelstrom of the abyss, a subterranean tunnel leads northward to the clan territories of Duma and Turel. Endowed with Rahab's soul, you may swim to gain entry, where your progress was previously impeded. Kain has withdrawn to his mountain retreat. Your only means of reaching him cuts straight through the lair of your brother, Turel.
Though the room seemed vacant, these banners clearly identified it as Turel's audience chamber.
Leaving so soon, brother?
Let me pass, Turel. I have enough blood on my hands today. My quarrel lies with Kain.
Poor Raziel. Your rage blinds you to the bond of gratitude that we owe our master.
Gratitude? Toward one who would have you grovel at his gate like a dog? You once had noble aspirations, Turel. Now, how humbled are your goals? Do you prosper on the scraps he casts you?
Your insults will do nothing to blunt the agonies of your demise.
You killed me once. Behold the result. I have no more to fear from you.
You try my patience, Raziel.
I smell water. Tell me, have you, like Rahab, learned to swim in all these eons?
This cut dialogue suggests two things. First, some of it was later reused in the Morlock or Tomb Guardian fight, which made it into the final version of the game. And secondly, it would seem that, just like the Tomb Guardian / Morlock in the game, Turel would have had to be killed using a nearby source of water. The ability that Raziel would have gotten upon killing Turel would have been the amplified force projectile, which would have pushed enemies further, leaving them in the stunned / damaged state. However, it should be noted that we do not actually know whether the force projectile that is seen in the release version of the game is the equivalent of the quote-unquote basic projectile from the early builds, or if it is what would have been the amplified version. The other thing that was cut from the final release of Soul Reaver is Turel's clan territory. It would have been the next destination after the Undercity and the Temple, which are themselves cut from the game and are a topic for a separate video. As the Elder God's directions clearly indicate, the access to it was supposed to be somewhere in the vicinity of Duma's territory, and it would have included rivers of lava and a giant smokestack used to cover up the sun. Turel reappears twice, first in Soul Reaver 2 and then in Defiance. In Soul Reaver 2, Raziel travels to the pre-Blood Omen era. There he encounters all the future vampire lieutenants back when they are still human Seraphim warriors, and it does not end well for them. Turel is no exception. Raziel kills Turel with the Soul Reaver and thus supplies Cain with a corpse to reanimate many years later. Turel then does not reappear until the very end of Defiance, where Raziel encounters him in the Blood Omen era in the Avernus catacombs in his devolved vampire state. Turel was also regularly possessed by some Hilden who were using Turel's body to command the human followers. Azimuth the Planer summoned Turel there to be used as a proxy for the aforementioned Hilden, whom she and her cult worshipped as the Hash-a-Gig. That is, until Raziel kills him and consumes his soul, also letting in the Hilden. But that is a different story. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.